Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, the day after the Grade 1 Florida Derby. And we knew going into yesterday afternoon there's a lot of buildup going into yesterday. And I think we were pleasantly surprised by a little horse named Nyquist.
Boy, Nyquist looked fantastic when he came out here in the walking ring, and he ran just like he looked. It was a fantastic performance. A lot of people, Mohayman will have a chance maybe to bounce back. He just didn't seem to run his race that day, but no knock on Nyquist. Boy, was he fantastic. And what a day it was here.
It really was. We'll revisit two of the featured races on yesterday's card here, and we'll take a look at those, starting with the Oaks. And kind of an upset performance here in the Oaks. We saw Dale Romans actually get his filly Go Maggie Go. If we could show that replay here, the number 3 Go Maggie Mo off the tracks for Todd Pletcher was heavily favored in here. Go Maggie Go, though, she looked fantastic prior to the race, and she really utilized her speed and stretched it out, and was very impressive for Dale Romans.
Yeah, I mean, she paid $10 to win, and that was an upset in there because there was the heavy favorite, like you said, so knocked a lot of people out of their multiple wages. But what a great performance by Go Maggie Go in the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
And it was as easy as that, and we'll go and look at the Grade 1 Florida Derby as well. And there was so much hype leading into this race. So, East Coast, West Coast, 2 undefeated horses. The bad thing about having 2 undefeated horses go against each other is one of them's going to be defeated afterwards. And we'll look at this, the stretch run here in the Florida Derby. And boy, what a performance we saw from Nyquist.
Yeah, he just drew up and won it in there. And, you were hoping for a dead heat between these two, but that did not happen. And Nyquist just so impressive, just cruising there. And, the connections were quoted after the race, and he started goofing around on the front end because he was looking for some competition. So great performance. Not only did they win the $600,000 winner's prize in the Florida Derby, they got a $1 million bonus because that horse was bought right here at the Fasig-Tipton sale, and there is a bonus if you do that and win the Florida Derby, and that's just what this horse did.
And it created a perfect incentive for this horse to ship across country, and we're thankful for it because obviously before we even got to Kentucky, he proved himself. He proved that he was the better horse versus Mohayman. And Mohayman, I didn't see really any excuses from him. Nyquist just was very impressive, and you could see him switching leads and kind of getting a little bit distracted down the lane. But I think that's exactly what it was. He was a little bit distracted. He was paying attention to different things.
Right.
So I don't think it was anything to do with distance limitations. I've seen a couple people talk about that on social media and things, but a lot of kind of interesting raw reactions to the Florida Derby yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of people thought maybe it was the track had some moisture in it, and but the trainer said no. I don't think the track bothered them, so we'll see what happens. That's why they run these races. See what happens a couple of weeks down the road from now.
Not only did we have a big day in terms of fantastic performances, but a big day in terms of handle. We actually broke our record here at Gulfstream. Last year, we broke a record on Florida Derby Day. This year, we broke that record with $32 million in that final handle.
We destroyed last year's record of $28 million, so it was a great day, and we just had so much fun here. It was jammed to the rafters because you had 2 of the great 3-year-olds running against each other, and it was just one of those days you'll always remember when Nyquist coming down the stretch.
Absolutely, and today we do have 8 races on tap. We went from 14 yesterday to 8 on tap today, but I love this card. I was actually talking to you about it this morning, and there's some really interesting races on today's program. We'll actually go now and take a look at our featured wagers and our carryovers, and we started off in race 1, that rolling super high 5. That also does start the early 50-cent pick 5. As we move on to race 3, the 20-cent Rainbow 6 does kick off just over $200,000. They bet a lot of money into this yesterday, surprisingly so.
Over $500,000. That's why we have that great $206,000 jackpot carryover today.
And we'll take a look at race 4 as well, and that will start the 50-cent late pick 5. You, of course, came up with the early and late pick 5 tickets. I came up with a Rainbow 6 ticket. I do like the sequence, but we'll start it off with race 1, and you Let's see the ticket.
Let's see the ticket, and you'll see I have a single in here, and that is a Shatino in the next race, the #1 horse. I like that horse and what that horse is doing today, so I figured I'd go with a single. I went 3 deep in all the other legs, so I'm basically handicapping to win the second race, and $40.50. Let's see if we can get this horse home. And I believe this horse is 10 to 1 on the morning line, so I saw a couple of things I like. I'm taking a shot. And as always, when we have these type of tickets, I might single a horse in there. That's not for you to do it to unless you believe in it, but you can add a couple of horses, take a couple out, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay, we started off with race 1, a maiden $35,000 event, 5 furlongs onto the turf, and I went in a different direction, just thinking that I could maybe shop for a bit of a price, but the 5, Sweet Betty, early money right now, but even money.
Yeah, dropping to the $25,000 level, turning back to 5 furlongs, went up, chased the pace, weekend to finish last one facing. That was maiden special weight competition, going 7.5 furlongs. Boy, how hot has this tandem been of Dale Romans and Corey Lannery, handling his daughter of Temple City, who's from Diana Forex, excuse me.
And she is cutting back in distance. She should be able to show some speed as she, I almost kind of want to see her maybe stalk and close. It might be her preferred running style, and I respect her on the class drop alone and the cut back in distance. But the horse that I'm more interested in is the one, Big Wave Dave, to the inside, the 4-year-old filly, now second time out of the Kelly Rubley barn. And she's actually shown speed going 2 turns. And now on the cut back to 5 furlongs, they put the blinkers on her. And I do think that she's going to be forwardly placed in this turf sprint. To me, she looks like a horse that's going to fare much better on a cut back in distance.
Yeah, cut back in distance. She's got that inside post, so she's got the shortest distance home, and you got a good jock with Nick Juarez in the saddle, so a good selection on your part. I did go with the 5 in there, and you have the 5 in second, so we sort of have one thing in agreement in here. The other horse I used was the 2, Chucky Please. An obvious choice to run well here after responding to a turn back in distance with a second place finish against these $35,000 maiden types. Things do get dicey. Maybe it sets up for a horse like 2, Chucky Please.
Well, we also have a first-time starter, the 6, Final Thoughts, by insemination out of a Carson City mare, so she's bred to really handle the turf. And Steve Glaceris has only done this with, I think, 2 or 3 horses in terms of debuting them at sprint distances on the turf against maiden claimers. Overall, the barn's about 20% with turf maiden, so I thought that was kind of a strong statistic that you might want to pay attention to in today's opener. We'll move on to the second race, though, on the card, a maiden $35,000 event, 7 furlongs on the main track, and scratch the 4, Dun Hall, who figured to take a lot of money.
Yeah, I thought Dun Hall was the one to beat in there, but I did go with, as I mentioned, this is my single in here. Shatino is dropping to this $35,000 level on the dirt, turning back to 7/8, showed speed, faded against state bred maiden special weight competition, going a mile into 16. Got a stat I want to show you about the trainer Larry Pilati with the 1 horse Shatino. He's 7 for 36, 19%, 33% in the money with a positive ROI. Me, I'm always a sucker for horses who show speed on the grass, turn back to 7 furlongs in the main track. This horse does not have to be on the lead. I'm expecting this horse to sit a nice stalking trip, and I figured I'd take a shot with one of my favorite angles.
It is. It's a great angle. I've seen you cash in a couple of tickets with that type of angle, and strong statistics to back up that angle here today. I respect him as well. I used him second. We also have a first-time starter, the 7 Insurance Premium in here, and this horse might figure to take some money because of the connections alone. Frank Calabrese, obviously, and then Mike Petro. But I wanted to show a stat because it's kind of the connections starting horses at the maiden claiming levels in their first start on the dirt specifically. Surprisingly low statistics. You'd think that these might have been a little bit higher because the barn is so good with their claimers.
Yeah, so good with their claimers, but maybe they need, the first-time starters need to have a race under their belt. They're only at 81% ROI, so a great stat up there. It's to show you, well, you know, that's not to say this horse cannot win first out.
But even if you look at the breeding on the bottom side, is actually kin to a $200,000 earner. There's a little bit of pedigree, and they paid $150,000 for him. So the fact that he's debuting maybe at the $35,000 level doesn't it isn't really a confident move there.
Yeah, but you know, this barn is known. If they think a horse can win at a certain level, they put it in. They like to win in bunches.
The 2 Hard Labor is dropping in class. You use on the bottom half of your ticket. Did not show up whatsoever last time out, but that was actually a pretty tough race. We saw All World was a Todd Fletcher runner. War Order we've seen run on the turf here locally. I thought that horse had a lot of talent. They've been running him on the dirt lately. And even Warrior Call, the third place finisher, came back to win maiden special weight at Parks, getting a 74 Beyer speed figure. So that's proved to be a tough race, and this horse is getting a pretty considerable class relief.
Yeah, I like his performance at 7 furlongs in his debut at Keeneland, certainly against a tough and indigent place at the $35,000 level.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and the Rainbow Six does start in today's third race, so you better get your tickets in early. We only have 2 races to get those tickets in. We're going to take a quick break, and I'll show you my ticket right after this. Welcome back to Gulfstream today, and as we mentioned earlier, the Rainbow Six starts in race 3 today on this 8-race program, and we do have a carryover over $200,000. They really bet it on yesterday's program, so a nice juicy carryover to dive into today, and we'll start off with race 3. I did come up with a ticket, and it's kind of a cheaper ticket. Usually I throw higher price tickets here today, but I like the sequence, and I'm saving the extra cash for gas money to get home tomorrow.
That's right. Bittersweet show today. It's Gabby's last handicapping show for this season, closing day of the championship meet. And she's going to go out and win. I got a good feeling about this ticket.
I hope so. Maybe I can pocket some extra cash there to get home. We'll take a look, though, here at race 3. And allowance optional claiming event and a mile onto the main track. We do have the scratch of the 1 Golden Ray, so it makes this a very small field, just 4 horses in this field, no show, try, or superfecta wagering. But I took a stand with the 5 Sharp Azteca. Yes, this horse is going to be heavily favored, and really anything can happen in these short fields. But you either use him or you use all of them.
Yeah, I mean, and he's the one to beat in here at Sharp Azteca. We're talking about makes his allowance debut after drawing away to break his maiden at this 1 mile distance, won that race by 4 lengths. We've been talking about these connections throughout the meet. George Navarro, especially with Edgard's eyes. This is a $220,000 son of Freud. There's lots to like about this horse.
And they've always thought very highly of him, talking to George Navarro. This horse obviously gave Zulu a run for his money, a subpar performance at the 7/8, but he came back to really rebound and going gate to wire. This horse is going to be fast, and he probably could just say, catch me if you can. He was actually nominated for the Florida Derby. He didn't obviously run yesterday, but he's got some talent, and he's finding just an average field here. I think if you're trying to beat him, maybe the 2 Prospectus off of the connections alone. He's another one who had a follow home Zulu 2 starts back.
Yeah, he's stretching out to Miley with a couple of, I thought, okay performances at a mile after, in which he was second to his stablemate, as you mentioned, Zulu in the slop, and second behind a horse. I thought I liked this horse. It was named Pinstripe. I thought it was a solid horse that ran here. You mentioned the connections, Todd Fletcher, Javier Castellano in the saddle, of course. Javier Castellano, 5th year in a row, our leading rider at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, congratulations to Javier.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about watching Javier Castellano ride in the afternoon, he rides, the cheaper claimers, the allowance horses, the stakes horses, the graded stakes horses, all the same way, and there's always a smile on his face as well. So very, very well deserved.
And he always gives the horse the best chance to win, so you got to like that, and it proves up by him being the leading rider here for 5th consecutive year.
We'll move on to the 4th race here, Ron, and this does kick off the late pick 5, so we'll start off with your late pick 5 ticket.
Let's show you this one, and this is the last, as you see, the 5 races on the card, last 5 races on the card, 2 deep, 3, 2, and 4 in the last race, the 3 being my long shot there, $48 ticket to end the day today, the end of the championship meeting. We'll talk more about that in a minute because we'll be back here on Wednesday. Just 1 meet is ending, but Gulfstream never closes.
The 5 Desert Princess, speaking about Javier Castellano, is aboard this 4-year-old filly. And it kind of sets up for her because she has the ability to maybe stalk the early speed in here. She has been proven effective at the distance in the past, and they obviously thought highly of her enough to step her up to maiden special weight company off of a pretty solid performance against maiden 16,000.
I mean, you mentioned she's dropping to the $35,000 level, turning back 2 mile in the 16. She went up, she tracked the pace, she finished weakening 6 in that race, but it was against Ben. Was also going 9 furlongs. But George Weaver, the trainer, at second-time blinkers and first-time Javier Castellano.
The only reason why I think she might be a little bit vulnerable in here is because she has faced lower-level maiden claimers in the past, whereas several others are dropping for maiden special weight company or even the maiden $75,000 level, just tougher company. She could very well win on credentials alone, but the 7 Annie O'Schiller had a lot of trouble last time out. We'll watch the stretch run from the quarter pole to the finish line, and she actually broke to the inside. She's the number 2 horse, and this was under Joe Rosario. This filly took a lot of money too. She actually went off as the favorite in here, and she is just reserved, trying to find any bit of running room there. It looks like she's a rocket ready to really take off there. Once she finally kind of angles out, it looks like she starts to regather herself and kind of close from off the pace, and then a horse just to her outside comes in and once again shuts off her path. We can see the number 9 horse shut off her path, and she is checked very, very heavily.
Right.
So I thought with that alone and kind of making a lateral move, she looks like she's been working forwardly at Pace and Park. She's going to be very tough.
Yeah, I mean, I got her on the ticket too. I had to use it for all the reasons you just mentioned, and I also used on the ticket to 6 Princess Moon, stretching out to 1 mile in the 16th. Responded Korea Turf debut by stalking 4 wide net, finished second against 40 maidens, going a mile.
I really like the one voices only to the inside too, given the pace scenario. We see Hava Naglia in here, who should be forwardly placed, even the 2 Killer Bird in here, who should be close, and she very well could just sit that stalking trip down on the inside. We've seen Bill Mott horses really firing on all cylinders.
My goodness, he's doing great.
One in particular, Celestine, ran a huge race yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, everything he's run over the last couple of weeks have been just fantastic. I think last week he won 3 stakes and over in 4 states or something.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Right.
We'll move on to the 5th race here on the card, though. An allowance optional claiming event, 1 mile and a 16th onto the turf course. And the pace dynamic in here could work one of 2 ways. I thought that maybe the 8-1 Liz from the outside will go, and she's sitting on her 3rd start off the layoff, cutting back in distance. She should be very sharp today, and perhaps loan speed in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got her on a ticket for all the reasons. I did go a little way. We actually have her exacta flip-flop. But 1 Liz, as you mentioned, 4th against $35,000 optional claimers, but that was going 1 mile and 3/16. This is 1 mile in the 16th. Mike Petro, Jonathan Gonzalez named to ride in there. I did go with the number 5 Ice Festival on top. Now in the Jimmy Jerkins barn. This is a daughter of Awesome. Again, gets both Lasix and blinkers in the first start since coming up empty. But that was in the $75,000 Sellers Shiraz at Gulfstream Park West during October. It's a 4-year-old. Competitive with better horses here last winter. This horse was a pretty nice horse, coming back in a solid barn.
And she figures to be pretty close to the pace too, which I think will help her. That's why I kind of landed just on those 2 between the 5 and the 8. 1 Liz might be a touch faster than her naturally, but Ice Festival does get the blinkers on, gets Lasix, a couple of different changes, and I think could definitely wake her up. Plus, she's coming in very fresh, so by that nature alone, she could be sharp out of the gate. I also used one other horse in here, the 4 Done One, and I know you had been high on this mare in the past couple of starts. What a picture-perfect ride she got last time out by Nick Juarez.
Yeah.
She drew from the way outside post position and really did everything right.
That was the reason I'm going like this is the 1 race I didn't bet her on user. So, yeah, you knew that was going to happen in there. But that's a hard-knocking campaigner, and you got to put that somewhere in your ticket. The horse I closed it out with was a little bit of a horse for course play. It's Rhythm Queen stepping up, solidifying her fondness for this thing when she won her 4th career victory. 8 starts, 4 wins on this turf cards. It's the old horse for course angle.
All right, we'll move on to the 6th race, the 30,000 conditional claimers, 1 mile onto the main track. There's a lot going on in this race, and I thought a good betting race as well. The one Your Dreams Are Mine could very well get a bet off of the back class alone. The only thing with this horse, though, Ron, is that the difference between what we've seen in previous years versus now, he used to show an ability to be closer to the pace, stalk, even go to the lead sometimes, and he's just really gotten slower in the big picture of the pace. So it makes me question what direction this horse is headed in.
Yeah, and I mean, he's dropping it to the $30,000 condition claiming level, too. He was facing stakes caliber competition consistently since winning that $150,000 unbridled here was last August. He's the one to fear on the drop, but you got to have some concerns while they keep dropping this horse down.
Julian on the 4 Seb to try to overcome the favorite tier does get the added distance to the mile.
Yeah, he's stretching out today after encountering some trouble in the stretch. If you read the short comment, it says bump repeatedly. I don't believe that totally. It was a little bit of bumping in there. It wasn't a big bang, bang, bang. Fifth versus this caliber competition going 3/4. Here they are again. Dale Romans, Corey Lannery handling the added real estate this afternoon.
The 2 Brown Almighty, one for Peter Walder, claimed back in September, has been sitting on this horse for a couple of months, and now immediately goes to the dirt. I thought that was kind of a tricky angle that Peter Walder is actually pretty successful with, and this horse has some experience on the main track, even an off main track as well. Was competitive in an off main track. Now his dirt races were actually against Stakes Company. He ran in the Southwest as a 3-year-old. He actually ran in the Smarty Jones as a 3-year-old as well. So a completely different class caliber. And the confident move here is that they took advantage of the waiver claiming. So he's not in or eligible to be claimed here. So I thought that they're bringing this horse in a reasonable spot off of the layoff, and they're protecting him.
And push comes to shove, I like Peter Walder's ability with horses that run on the main track rather than the turf. I mean, it doesn't matter; he can win on both surfaces. But I just feel that way. So a horse that I missed, but you made a great point for it. A horse that you got to go back. Actually, second choice on the morning line.
The 3, I'm stepping it up, could get aggressive here with Paco Lopez. I thought that his best races actually come on or near the lead, and now with Paco in the saddle, they just could go from the gate.
Yeah, I think he's a major player on the ticket. He finished third his recent outing at this level and distance. Jane Sabelli, Paco Lopez, a 4-time winner at a mile. 15 races with 4 wins. So
very sharp connections there. We'll move on to the 7th race. 9 winners, a 3 lifetime allowance, 7 furlongs onto the main track, and I think we have a replay of the 5 Royal Squeeze.
Yeah, this is 2 starts back. It was in a race. It was called the Tarpon back then. You'll see he's coming down the stretch. He's the number 7 now, and he's coming down. And the horse that's on the front end is a really good horse called Mr. Jordan. And I think if you could run with Mr. Jordan, even though he didn't run well in the carryback last time out, you'll see Mr. Jordan now come out and actually, bother the 7. Actually, they took Mr. Jordan down. It was sort of a controversial takedown. But I figured off that angle, with him running against those horses, Mr. Jordan, made from Lucky, Julian Leparoux in the saddle, now in the Brian Lynch barn. It's the son of Wildcat Air. He faded in the carry back. It was back in July. We haven't seen him in a while. But I went off those running lines in the past and showed you anybody that ran with Mr. Jordan back then, even if he shouldn't have been taking down Mr. Jordan, I think this horse deserves respect and to come back.
And he had to chase Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan's very fast.
Unbelievable.
So if this horse is ready to fire off the layoff, he's going to be very competitive. He's proven locally the barn can get horses ready off a layoff. I kind of went against him here, but you make a good point too, is that the pace scenario does set up for a horse like this. We have the one more Applause to the inside, who's very fast at the mile. We have Rod McLeod, who should be forwardly placed in here. We have several others that should be pressuring the pace, like Capital City. And with a similar angle as you, I went with a horse who's proven that he can kind of close from off the pace or sit in a stalking trip. The 4 Gryvan is one that's going to cut it for me. I question what his best distance is. Is it the 7 furlongs? Is it shorter? But he does fit the flow of the race today. Yeah,
and he sat behind some wicked fractions last time out of 21 and 4 and 44 and 3. That was a really swift 6 furlong affair. It's George Navarro, MCL Jaramillo named to ride, and just thought we both use Goombay Dancer, another from that barn, so it could be an all George Navarro exactor in there if it plays out that way. Just thought that Royal Squeeze, I just went on that back respect I have for the horse.
Oh yeah, had put in some really, really solid races in the past. We'll move on to the 8th and final race on the card, is 16,000, 9 winners, a 2 lifetime event, 5 furlongs there on the turf. And in terms of the pick 6 and the pick 5, I think you have to use several different horses in here. And I'm not surprised that we have a difference in opinion, because half the people I talk to, like, the 1, 2, 3, half the people like the outside of the field. So kind of a wide open event to cap off. This afternoon.
You know, I don't know what well, I don't know. The morning line, no, they went to the inside with the 1-6. 2, just give me a kiss. A well-met third at this level in a distance. 2 starts back, drops, broke from the rail, failed to get on track against 30 condition claimers last time out. Dave Brady, Lionel Reyes in the saddle. I thought they'd give this horse one more chance.
I went to the 7 Cat and Dog here because the turf debut was very strange. We saw Ela first off the claim for trainer Jamie Ness go to the turf and win by how much was it? Over 10 lengths that race.
Exactly.
And she just couldn't close. I thought that was just a very, very weird dynamic. That filly was so fast. She drew away from the field, and I think she has a little bit of upside. Paco Lopez in the saddle. The 3 Ghosts of Anapa now stays at the same level. She was completely compromised at the break last time out, but some of her previous turf sprints were against decent company for the level. Even going back to early in January, we saw Little Snip. That was a turf sprinter who was in very good form. So working off a little bit of her back class.
She's my long shot today. You know, I give one out in the program each and every day, so I'm total agreement with you. She did lose all chance at the start, so I'm going to have that one on my ticket. And we both used the number 1, Red Aguia. Should be primed and ready to score. Return from the freshening, finish a really willing second. So an 8-race card, but a very nice 8-race card. It's a lot of fun, these races.
It's eclectic. There's a lot going on here, so it makes it all the more fun. Race 3 does kick off the Rainbow Six once again. We do have a carryover over $200,000, and that'll do it for me. I'm hitting the road. Michael Adolphson will be joining you this afternoon. I came out here to do the morning show, and I think I'm going to go hide and cry for a little bit.
How great was this kid this year? It was a lot of fun, and I'm going to miss you, but I'll be seeing you up at the Preakness, and she'll be back next year, I guarantee it.
And I'll be up in Maryland for all of those who follow us. We're going to have a big weekend there next weekend, local preps for the Preakness, kind of a win and you're in, a new type of situation there. So it'll be a fun weekend there. It'll be a fun weekend here. And we also have a new face. Larry Comas isn't doing the changes today.
No, Larry Comas is not. We have a new announcer who's filling in for Pete, our summertime announcer, for the next couple of weeks. So Gabe Pruitt will be up in just a moment to give you a change. He's a good guy, and we're going to be watching. We call some good races. I'm positive of that.
I'm positive of that as well. Thank you for joining us here at Gulfstream today, and best of luck on today's 8-race program.
Our day begins early, preparing for the task ahead, focused on a single goal. Then it's showtime, ready to face another challenge. And while victory may be uncertain, you can always bet on us to be at our very best.